You clean up your meals, cut back on snacks, maybe even skip breakfast, and still fat loss feels weirdly hard to unlock. The scale barely moves. Your energy dips by late afternoon. Then dinner hits, and your appetite feels bigger than it should. So if you're eating less and trying harder, why does your body still act like stored fuel is off limits? If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it. A lot of people have already tried the obvious stuff. They eat less. They cut sugar. They try to do everything right during the week, then wonder why fat loss still feels slow, uneven, or strangely fragile. The frustrating part is that those efforts are not always wrong. They just may not be changing the main signal that controls fuel access across the day. Most people miss this. That signal is insulin. The common belief is that fat loss starts the moment you eat less. In real life, fat loss often gets easier when insulin has more chances to come down, and when your body responds to it more normally, so stored fuel becomes easier to access. That is why generic advice can feel incomplete. It may reduce calories on paper, while still leaving the deeper traffic pattern unchanged. This isn't about instant results, it's about shifting signals over time. In this video, I'll show you why this insulin switch gets stuck, and 3 specific ways to help it move in a better direction starting today. Think of insulin like a parking gate, not a villain. When that gate rises and falls normally, your body can move between incoming fuel and stored fuel without much drama. You eat, insulin goes up. Some of that energy gets used right away. Some gets stored. Then later, as insulin comes down, your body gets easier access to what it already saved. That's metabolic flexibility. Now picture a very different day. You wake up a little under-recovered. Breakfast is small, rushed, or mostly refined carbs. You sit for hours. Then you get hungry again, fast. By mid-afternoon, you feel flat, distracted, or snacky. That pattern often tells you the gate is staying up too often, or your cells are responding less efficiently, so your body keeps leaning toward incoming fuel instead of smoothly switching over to stored fuel. Here's the part that confuses people. Fat storage and fat access are not the same job. Your body can carry plenty of stored energy and still make it feel strangely unavailable in the moments when you actually need it. So you eat again, not always because you're undisciplined, but because the signal to release stored fuel is not coming through cleanly. In simple terms, insulin is one of the main signals that helps decide whether energy gets stored or released. When insulin stays elevated too often, or when your body becomes less responsive to it over time, lipolysis slows down. That means breaking stored fat into usable fuel becomes harder. You feel the consequence as unstable energy, stronger appetite, and a constant sense that your body never fully shifts gears. So when this keeps happening, your body learns to rely on quick incoming energy, and that's exactly why you're experiencing low energy, bigger appetite, and stubborn fat loss at the same time. But why would your body keep doing that, even when you're trying to help it? Your body is not trying to sabotage you. It is trying to create stability. When insulin stays high too often, or when your cells stop responding to it efficiently, your body starts acting like fast incoming fuel is the safer option. That can happen after long stretches of eating that keep insulin elevated, and it often becomes more noticeable as excess body fat makes insulin signaling less responsive over time. The result is not just storage, it is reduced flexibility. Your body gets worse at switching. A useful way to picture it is this. Insulin is the messenger, but your cells also have to listen. If the message keeps coming loudly and often, the system can become less sensitive over time. Then your pancreas may need to send more insulin to do the same job, especially after meals. That leaves less room for the clean rise and fall that helps stored fuel become available between meals. Here's a quick self-check. If you feel fine while eating, then get hungry, foggy, or snack-driven soon after. That pattern may be telling you your fuel switching is not smooth yet. That is not a diagnosis, but it is a clue worth noticing. And that clue shows up in measurable insulin sensitivity, appetite, and fat oxidation data, not just in how your day feels. If that stop and start pattern feels familiar, it has been measured in controlled feeding studies. In 2018, Sutton and colleagues in Cell Metabolism found that early time-restricted feeding improved insulin sensitivity and lowered insulin in men with prediabetes, even without weight loss. What this means for you is that changing when your body sees food may improve the signal before the scale changes. The caveat is that this was a small study in men with prediabetes, so the same response should not be assumed for everyone. That same daily pattern also shows up in appetite and fuel use. In 2019, Ravison and colleagues in obesity found that early time-restricted feeding reduced appetite and increased fat oxidation, without raising energy expenditure. In plain English, better timing may help your body rely less on constant incoming fuel. The caveat is that timing alone does not override food quality, sleep, or total intake. Work with your biology, not against it. What this means is that if you want fat burning to get easier, you need to work with insulin signaling across the day. And here are 3 ways to start doing that. Before we get into these, one of the 3 matters more than most people realize, and it is not the hardest one. Start with clearer gaps between meals. If insulin stays elevated too often, stored fuel stays harder to reach. So one of the simplest levers is to stop giving the system constant reasons to stay on. A good starting point is 2 or 3 real meals, with fewer random bites in between, so your body gets clearer breaks between eating signals. Within the first day, many people notice fewer grazing urges. After 1 to 2 weeks, some notice steadier energy between meals and less food urgency. This supports signals over time. It is not a promise of immediate fat loss. If you have diabetes, take glucose-lowering medication, are pregnant, or have a history of disordered eating, this should be adjusted with a clinician. The next piece is meal timing, and this is the one most people miss. Your body usually handles food better earlier in the day than late at night. So the goal is to shift more calories earlier and stop making dinner the biggest metabolic event. A practical rule is a more substantial breakfast or lunch, then an earlier or lighter dinner when you can. Even moving your last meal a bit earlier is a useful start. In the first day, dinner may feel less heavy and the next morning may feel less sluggish. After 1 to 2 weeks, many people notice appetite feels more predictable and late-night eating pressure eases. This helps shift the signal. It does not force a result overnight. If reflux, shift work, family schedules, or medication timing complicate this, use a gentler version instead of an extreme one. Then there is the first real meal after a long gap. If that meal is mostly rapidly absorbed carbs and low in protein or fiber, the rest of the day can feel more reactive. A better starting point is to anchor that meal with protein and fiber-rich foods, like eggs and fruit, Greek yogurt with berries and nuts, or a more savory breakfast instead of pastry and coffee alone. Small change, big difference. In the first day, many people notice the late morning crash softens. After 1 to 2 weeks, cravings and snack pressure may feel easier to manage. This supports steadier signals over time. It is not a shortcut to instant body change. If you have kidney disease, gastrointestinal conditions, or a very small morning appetite, the composition may need to be personalized, and when these levers work together, the day starts feeling less like a battle and more like a rhythm you can actually stay with. Some people need to be more careful with this. If you have diabetes, use insulin or glucose-lowering medication, have a history of disordered eating, are pregnant, or work rotating night shifts. These changes may need a different setup. If you're getting frequent dizziness, shakiness, fainting, chest symptoms, or major swings in blood sugar, that is a reason to talk with your doctor instead of pushing through. And if progress feels slower for you, that does not mean you're broken. In people with obesity, insulin resistance often improves gradually, and that is biology, not failure. A quick note before you try this. This is general science education, not personal medical advice. If you have a medical condition, take medication, or have issues related to blood sugar, pregnancy, eating behavior, or digestion, check with a qualified clinician before changing your routine. The big idea is simple. Your body does not become better at burning stored fat just because you want it to. It gets better at it when the signals around insulin become easier to regulate, and when your day creates cleaner chances to switch between fed mode and stored fuel mode. That is why these changes work better together than alone. Clearer meal spacing lowers constant signal noise. Earlier eating supports the rhythm your body already handles best, and a steadier first meal can make the rest of the day less reactive. It is a system, not a trick. Most people miss this. They try to force the outcome before they fix the pattern that creates it. If this video helped you see the mechanism more clearly, stay with this channel. We are going to keep breaking down the hidden signals behind belly fat, cravings, sleep, stress, and metabolic slowdown, so you can stop guessing and start making changes that actually fit real life. Subscribe if you want health advice to make more sense, feel more practical, and finally, connect the biology to what you experience every day.